Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Club Junkie podcast. Hopefully, you're having a good week, a Masters hangover week. I know it's always a bummer once we get through the Masters. It's kind of it's a little bit. You get so pumped up for it, it almost is a little bit of a letdown that Monday when everything's done, everything's over, and it's just sad. I mean, we build up to this whole thing going up to the Masters. It's to me, my favorite sporting event of the year, and in 4 days it's over. I mean, typically we get 5 days because we get a little par 3 contest. This year, the past two Masters, one in November now, and then now no par 3 contest. So we get it's a little shorter than usual, but it's all right. I was a little bummed waking up Monday having to come back to work and not just sitting around watching golf, but hey, it is what it is. You got to we've got another major about a month away, so it's not all terrible out there, but. Just want to let you know this episode here brought to you by Titleist.com. And, nothing improves driver performance more than an actual fitting. I mean, everybody knows that if you go and get a fitting, you've never been fit before, or it's been years since you've been fit, the performance gains you can see are absolutely great. Even if it's something that you think you fit into something, going to an actual authorized fitter, having them fit you into a driver, a new TSI metalwood, huge distance gains can be had. And way tighter dispersion as well. So definitely something we always emphasize doing fitting. I mean, I know I'm not kind of one of the ultimate tinkerers and all that, but definitely getting fit is the way to go. If you're going to spend money, you're going to buy a new driver. TSI metalwoods are phenomenal this year. Definitely go get fit. They've got a bunch of premium shafts in there. They've got a great partnership with Graphite Design for some less expensive or smaller upcharge shafts. So just a whole slew of options to get your game dialed in. So visit Titleist.com, check out the TSI woods, and also check for the authorized fitter near you today. And fitting is definitely the way to go. I mean, I know people always ask me about fitting, and I'm just like, I don't get fit because I just take out so many clubs, but but it is definitely something you should do. If you're going to go spend some hard-earned money on a club or some clubs or whatever, go get fit, see what works best for you, and you'll be very happy with the results. So, we got another week. Like I said, Masters is here, gone. It seems like it just goes by too fast. It's like all the build up, and then it's a great weekend. I enjoyed the Masters. I was starting to get a little bummed that it was going to be boring, kind of like last year or November. I'm just going to call it last year. I'm not even going to try to deal with this whole when was it type thing, whatever. But anyway, I like the Masters. I do say I was a little bummed. I thought things were going to get a little funky, and we're going to get some a pretty boring Masters again, just because the way it started. You were kind of hoping in a sense that Hideki kind of fell back to the field, and there was a lot of guys right behind him that were big names, you guys playing well, whatever. And he walks off birdies number one and just starts playing really well, and you're just kind of like, oh man, like he's going to run away with this. And, fortunately, or I wouldn't say fortunately, but, he unfortunately had the mistake at 15, brought everybody back. Everything got real interesting. And then, unfortunately, Xander, knocked that ball into the water on 16. So, but at least it had, a little bit of drama. There were some, guys playing really well that, that you didn't expect. My pick to win, Adam Scott, came in. He made the cut at least, but he came in dead last of guys who made the cut. So, that wasn't great, not a great pick. And then the guy said to stay away from, which was Jordan Spieth, ended up being tied third. So I really I'm the worst bettor in the world. I'll tell you this right now. Do not take my advice for fantasy football. Even though I won my league last year, it's the first time in 10 years. And I'm in 2 leagues. It's the first time I won either one of them 10 years. Don't take my advice on NCAA brackets. I was out of that almost instantly. I don't think I've won an NCAA bracket pick since high school, which was 20 years ago. Don't take my advice on fantasy anything. It just doesn't matter. It wouldn't matter what kind of education I think I have, whatever research I've done, any of that crap. It just goes out the window, and it doesn't matter. Everybody I pick is wrong. So, like I said, whatever you do not ever ask me for fantasy advice or anything like that. My wife, every year in fantasy football, my wife will every once in a while shoot me a thing like, should I play this running back or this guy or whatever? And now she's learned that whatever I say, she just does the opposite of. So if I'm like, you should play, whoever, like here, she'll just, pull them out, put in whoever else. And it typically works out for her. So it's, yeah, it's one of those things. I'm terrible at fantasy. It's probably the reason why I don't really gamble. I don't really bet. I don't really gamble. I don't, get in on all these, sports apps and all this stuff and bet money and go crazy with all this stuff because I'd be broke. And honestly, for me, I'd rather be broke getting golf equipment and all that. And speaking of which, right before I recorded this show, I was actually on the GolfWRX website ordering up ferrules, grip tape, and 40 dirt cheap grips that I've never heard of before that we're going to try and see because the Royal grips that I ordered previously, which they're fine. They're a little spongy, but they're fine in warm weather. They're absolute trash when it's cold. They become just stupid slick and have no traction. So I'm going to try something different. They're called, let's pull them up here. What are they called? Just put them in my shopping cart. I got to order some ferrules too, so I'm kind of losing my page. They're Pro Tour Golf Grip. I don't even know who makes these things. It's just the Pro Tour standard grip. It provides great traction in all weather conditions. So it's basically a Tour Velvet clone. I don't know who makes it, but the grips are just like, for the amount of testing and everything I do, there's just not, it's so much like, you just go through stuff. Like, and I know everybody's like, oh, just get an air compressor, blow them on. I have an air compressor, I have a gun, it works fine, but the air compressor is just loud. And like right now, when I'm recording on Tuesday night, like my daughter's asleep. I can't fire that compressor up and run it and put grips on and take grips off and all that jazz. Like it just doesn't work. So I went down the road. It's fine. I know some people say like they move. I never had any problem with that. They stayed on just fine. But I literally am on the lookout for like decent. I don't even call them like short-term good. Like they don't have to last very long, but like at least be good for like a month. Grips that are kind of like, they could be Tour Velvets. I don't really care really, as long as they're standard size and they're standard taper. Like I don't want a +4 clone or anything like that. And like I said, these tend to be like looks to be a Tour Velvet, and they're like $150 each. So I'm gonna get like 40 of them for $65. I did that similar thing with those Royal grips a little while ago, burned through them all, and now I'm like literally out of grips. So I think I'm going to order these. I'm going to try them. I was looking on eBay. There were a couple deals, but then you could tell definitely there's some counterfeit stuff shipping out of China. And I was like, yeah, as much as I almost don't even care that they're counterfeit because in a way I'm only going to use them for like, a couple of weeks. I just didn't want to deal with one being counterfeit and two having to wait for the shipping. So I scratched that, and I'm going to go with the Pro Tour grip. We'll see how this thing goes. But at $1.69, $1.49, I'm not expecting a lot. I'm not expecting them to last very long. I'm not expecting a ton. As long as they last for like 2 or 3 weeks, and that's it, I'm gonna be pretty happy with it. So, unfortunately, the podcast isn't big enough for Golf Pride or Lambkin or Super Stroke or anybody to send me a case of grips because that would be the ultimate. But we're not there yet. So, but it's good. So, because part of the reason I need some grips is if you saw on Instagram, which the shameless plug of @ClubJunkiePod. On Instagram, I was building up the old Hideki driver. So after Hideki won, he was playing a Srixon ZX5, which I know his has like a long hosel on it, and this one does not. This is just the standard retail head. But the ZX5 driver from Srixon with a graphite design DI. Now he's playing like an 8TX, and I don't have that kind of movement. So I've got a 7X here, which still is, I guess, pretty stout. But I've got it glued up. I know there's a bunch of, you can see some some shaft prep there from, it was in, I don't even know what driver it was in before this one, but the Club Connects tip is definitely short. It's a short adapter. So a lot of times pulling it out of anything OEM, you'll see a little bit of shaft prep, which it's unfortunate, but it's fine. And yes, if you're, looking at this thing, yes, I still have Club Connects in the bag right now. I was talking to my good buddy Austin over at Fuji, and we were just chatting it up, and I said, man, I'm in this hard place. I really like All Fit. I love what they're doing, and I love their system, really. Like, it's really nice, but the problem is I have like 20 shafts for Club Connects, and they're all going to come out at least a half-inch short. If I switch them over, they're going to come out at least a half-inch short, and they're all going to be tipped 3/4 of an inch. And he kind of made a thing. He was like, honestly, he's like, we both kind of came to the conclusion, like, why not just slowly transition over as new stuff comes in? The systems aren't really that hard to change out. I mean, it's literally just a screw and a rubber washer to keep it in place. So as you get new shafts and stuff like that, you know, start switching things over, you know, gradually. But for right now, I'm going to kind of stick with Club Connects. And I know it's not, you know, I don't love it in terms of, you know, kind of what's going on there. But I kind of went all in on the system. So I'm going to kind of stick with it for at least a little while until, you know, more new shafts come out. And I'll probably start switching over to All Fit as that happens. But right now, I'm going to stick with Club Connects only because, you know, like I said, I don't want to have to play a bunch of 3/4 of an inch tip shafts when that isn't really what I play. And two, I'm going to have to go out and get extensions for like 20 shafts. And I don't want to sit there and rip a bunch of grips off, put a bunch of new grips on, all that stuff. Like, it's just, you know, it's a whole hassle. And when you have kind of everything invested into one system, I'm just going to stick with it. But yeah, so I'm building up, like I said, I got a Srixon ZX 595 head with a graphite design DI7X, and we'll see what happens. We're going to throw a grip on this thing. I think I'm going to trim a little bit off it, but trim a touch off it, and take it out of the course and see if I can hit it like Hideki. I mean, we all know I can't, but it'll be kind of interesting to see how it plays. So the ZX5 head's been really good. I've hit it I've had a couple shafts that I've hit that thing in. Really solid driver. It's forgiving. Ball speed seems pretty good. You know, it launches up kind of mid-high. It doesn't seem to be crazy high spin. Overall, I think it's a really solid driver and kind of underrated. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see what it does with the DI in it. So got that built for now. Like I said, just got to get a grip, and I have some like couple crappy grips left, but I don't know if I'll get that crazy to toss some random crappy grip I have laying around on it. We'll see. So that was one of the things I built. I'm pretty excited. That's ready to go. And then I've gotten out and gotten to the course, and I've played a few holes, and I'm pretty excited. I'm going to talk about kind of a couple of the driver combos I'm hitting right now, or at least testing out right now. One that I put in play on Thursday for 4 holes until we unfortunately got rained out. I'm hoping to get out and play again on tomorrow on Thursday, and hopefully we'll get the full, I don't know if we'll get full 18 in, but hopefully we'll at least get, you know, full 9, if not, you know, a few more holes than that. But I was hitting a driver really well, 2 drivers really well in the range, and then I kind of had to pick one because it was going to be kind of a little skins game, so I had to pick one. I wasn't able to play 2 drivers out of the course, so I did hit it a lot better than I thought I would, really, in a sense. And yeah, it's been, like I said, and then we got to hole 4 and I got rained out. So it was, as thunder was crashing over me, as I was trying to put on my terrible rain suit. So I got to find a rain suit as well. I got to find cheap grips. I got to find a rain suit. Hit me up on Instagram. Let me know what I should get, you know, out there. I got to get something because my rain suit's trash. It's finally worn out. It's like the pants are tight because I'm fat. So I got to find a rain suit, pants that are built for short, chubby guys, and a jacket that's built for a guy with a beer gut, and then some cheap grips to get on some clubs to test. So I'm just a mess right now. A lot of things going on, but it's all good. It's fun. So, and then also I've got a couple fairway woods that I've been hitting. One which somebody asked me, sent me a DM about, and I'm gonna have to go through and search my DMs on Instagram to see who it was. But they asked me about the Srixon fairway wood, the ZX fairway, and I told them I had not hit it yet. And I went to the office, picked it up because we had one. I just hadn't taken it with me. Picked it up, hit it, and hit that. So it's yeah, got a few things there. So it's an exciting time. Like I said, I've got big GolfWRX order to put in. It's I've got ferrules, I got grip tape. I got some solvent coming. I got to go over to my little parts bin and see what other ferrules I need. So just a little tip for you guys: if you have like a little, you know, like mine's like a Husky that I got at Lowe's, and which is really fitting because I'm a Husky guy. But it's a Husky like parts bin, so it's got, you know, a bunch of little trays that just slide out, and you can just fill them up. When you buy your ferrules, like if you get them from GolfWRX, WORKS, if you get them from there online, they usually come with a little sticker with the model number on them. So I have just, I mean, I've got, you know, 335 in short, standard, long, extra long, and then I think a bigger outside diameter version, and the same thing with like 370s. I don't buy 355s because they're just, or 355 taper ferrules, because they just get really tight. I usually just throw a 370 on there and it works perfectly fine. So what I do is there's usually a little sticker that has the model number on it. Peel that off and stick it to the bottom of the parts bin. So when you get low, you just look in there and you say like, oh, it's a, you know, 61 PI or whatever, you know, whatever model it is. And it's easy to just then like jump online, order what you need, And you don't even have to worry about like, oh man, is this like the, you know, the 3/4 of an inch? Is this the 1/2 inch? Is it the this? Is it no? It's like it's right there, ready to go. So be careful peeling it off. It should come off the little plastic, you know, bag that they come in, and then just, you know, like I said, stick it to the bottom of the parts bin that it's in, and it's a great way to reorder your stuff and not have to worry about trying to figure out what is what and all that. So it's been really good. So let's get into the fairway woods that I've got going first. So there's 2 fairway woods I've been hitting. The first one we'll talk about is we'll go, you know, Srixon ZX, the ZX fairway. So the ZX fairway, I know Srixon again, and you know, when it comes to woods, they're just not really that well known. And it's understandable. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, Mizuno. When you make a really good iron or wedge, or you make it, you know, a great ball in Srixon's case, whatever, you kind of get known for that. And, you know, a lot of people forget that you make, you know, a whole bag full of clubs, basically. I mean, Srixon makes everything. If you include Cleveland in there, which they're both owned, you basically have a whole bag. So it's, you know, with Cleveland putters, Cleveland wedges, Srixon irons, hybrids, woods, whatever. I mean, they've got it all. So it's a pretty straight line across. And again, I kind of didn't really give a whole lot of love to the ZX fairway just because it was there, but I was really more interested in the driver. I was more interested in the hybrid, and this just kind of fell by the wayside. And then the irons, I mean, are phenomenal. So it just kind of fell by the wayside, and I left it at the office, and I didn't really think about it. And when you don't go to the office every day, it's easy to kind of forget about it. So I went back, grabbed it up, and you know, it's actually the look of it originally when I set it down, I didn't like it. Basically, when you look at the Srixon ZX fairway, it definitely has a more pointed back to it. So from front to back, from face to back, it's got kind of a triangular shape. And then across the top, it's also got this kind of like a step down section where the face, you know, stands up, and then there's a little flat section at the crown or the top of the crown, and then it drops down, and it's, you know, you can see kind of the carbon fiber weave, and as the club goes to the back, you know, it kind of gets triangular shaped. And from address, it's not the most beautiful thing in the world. It's not, you know, a TSI 3. It's not, you know, if you pick out whatever your favorite fairway wood is. I don't know if this is the one that anybody would pick out and say this is the absolute most beautiful. And like I said, but once actually hitting it, you kind of get used to it. It doesn't really stand out that much once you start hitting the club. And, you know, as much as I, you know, at the office kind of went, you know, I don't love the look, whatever. When you set it down in the grass and you actually hit it and you hit some shots with it, it really, like I said, it kind of blends in. You don't really notice it that much. The face, I'll give you know, one knock here. The face is slightly shut on the 15 degree. It's not horrible, but it's a little bit shut. But I do have to say that the ball speed on it is it exceptionally good. It for me, you know, I guess I have to hit a few more three woods on the Rapsodo MLM that I have. But this thing was like, you know, basically mid 140s all day. You know, I was hitting it on that thing, and my ball speed was like, you know, between 142 and 147 basically all day. I mean, on good strikes. I mean, when I hit it low heel, of course the ball speed dropped, but it really actually had really good ball speed, and I was kind of shocked at how far it was going. It was really impressive that it's kind of a rocket launcher. And I found the same thing with the hybrids. The ZX hybrids really go a long way for their stated loft. But this thing's definitely long. I mean, I think it keeps up with just about anything out there in terms of distance. Anything, you know, maybe you say, okay, the titanium, you know, the SIM2 titanium, that may have a little faster ball speed, but I don't think by a ton. I mean, it might be slight. But any steel fairway out there, this thing, you know, I was hitting this thing next to SIM2 Max, and this thing actually was a touch faster than my SIM2 Max that I had out there as well. So ball speed was really good. Launch is actually, you know, it's pretty easy to launch. It's not crazy high ball flight. I'll call it mid-high. It gets up in the air really easily, but it doesn't, you know, it doesn't go crazy high or anything like that. It basically, you know, like I said, mid-high launch. It's pretty flat. You know, the apex isn't super high. It's pretty flat. The angle of descent's pretty shallow. So off the tee, it's going to be great to hit because it's going to hit, run, and you're going to get a ton of distance out of it. If you're really hitting this thing into some par fives and you're looking for like just a ton of distance control, you know, I don't know if the apex is quite high enough, at least for me, when I hit it. It wasn't something that went like straight up and came straight down. You know, I mean, I know there's, you know, they make a 5 wood you could get that would be more that style, but in terms of the 3 wood, you know, like I said, off the tee, it'd be great. I was hitting it with just like the stock hazardous black smoke. And, like I said, it was pretty much mid-high, kind of mid-high launch, but really flat. But it was easy to get off the turf, off the tee. It stayed, relatively mid-high launch. I know I've hit 3-woods where off the turf they're great, but you hit them off the tee and they just straight in the air. This definitely didn't have that. Trajectory seems to be pretty controlled on both shots. It's definitely a club that you can, kind of, work the trajectory up and down a little bit because it's not super, super high launching. So you can, if you want to hit it low, you can definitely hit it low. Like I said, ball speed's phenomenal. Missed ball speed still is really good because I think it's just overall really, just that rebound frame that they have on it. It just keeps a lot of ball speed. So even if you, hit it off the toe, hit it off the heel a little bit, the ball speed still stays pretty high. And it actually stays on line pretty well. I will say that it does have a little more draw to it than, say, the most neutral fairway would, but it's not crazy. I mean, it's got a little bit of draw to it. It's easy, but it's easy to turn over. I mean, if you're somebody who fights a little bit of a fade, it's easy to turn over. It's easy to hit it straight. It's easy to square it up. It just won't be the most fade bias thing out there. So, which is fine. I mean, like I said, majority of golfers, want to take away that right side, and that this thing will do a little bit of that. But if you're a really good player, and you want to hit a pretty, neutral ball flight, or you want to just slightly draw it, I think this fits in your bag as well. And again, it's not, at least for me, wasn't super high launching. So I think, the better player, you put a little heavier shaft in there, and I think you're going to find, because the stock went in there 60 grams. It didn't feel crazy light compared to the 70 grams I usually play. It wasn't, it's a little lighter, but not bad. But I think even the better players are going to find that this thing here, you're going to be able to at least definitely work trajectories, especially off the tee. If you need to hit it low into the wind, you can kind of play it back in that stance a little bit, hit it low. If you want to kind of hit it high to take advantage of it, wind behind you, I think you're going to be able to do that as well. The stock shot on it, like I say, mid-high. The low misses go pretty well. They don't jump up in the air. You miss it low in the face, it's going to, still go pretty well. It's just not going to go really high. So you're going to have kind of that low shot. But, if it's dry out, whatever, you should get some decent roll. If it's wet and there's dew all over, well, unfortunately, you're going to pay a little bit of a price for that miss. But overall, I think the misses are really good. It's pretty, like I said, pretty straight. If anything, you got just a touch of a draw to it on perfectly struck shots. But again, I don't think that should scare anybody away unless you just, unless you're a guy who is just fighting that hook that goes 2 fairways over and you need something ultimate fade biased. Okay, well, maybe this doesn't necessarily go in your bag, but like I said, I think for somebody who's a slightly higher ball hitter and wants something that's, got a good amount of ball speed, doesn't go really that high, and you can kind of still work it a little bit, I think the ZX is a great fairway. The sound and feel is actually really impressive. I thought the drivers were a hair louder than I expected them to be. I know some other places who've reviewed them and said they're some of the best sounding out there. I think the 7 is actually phenomenal in terms of the 7 sound is really good. It's really muted. I think the 5 is just a slight bit louder. It's not bad by any means, just a slight bit louder. And this is really muted. It's got more of a crack sound to it when you hit it. It's not super high, high-pitched metallic sounding or anything like that. It's not loud like, as loud as, say, a Ping 425 Max. But it's definitely a more muted sound. So overall, I think it's going to be one of those underrated fairway woods, much like the drivers are, that aren't going to get a ton of love, but are really good products. And it's one of those, if you're in the market for a fairway, it's definitely worth trying. And if you're somebody who, you're waiting around for deals for previous year's clubs, I think this thing's going to come out, when next year everything hits, this thing's probably going to be, dirt cheap, and it'd probably be worth picking it up and hitting it because it's really, really good right now. But it's really solid. I was a big fan of it and really liked hitting it. So that there was one. And then the other one I've been playing is the SIM2 Max. And I basically snagged this bad boy from the office and threw in there a little Fujikura Ventus Red 7X. Now I know this is what, if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll look at that and say that's a Ventus Red. It's, that's blue. This is one of the red prototypes that came out before red actually released. This was basically, they called it an MH proto for mid-high launch prototype. And basically a 7X Ventus Red, just painted like a blue, but in a Sim Max 2 head. So I was playing this the past few range sessions, and then I tried to get it out totally on the course on Thursday last week, but again, got rained out, so I didn't get to play it. But I do have to say, really liking what this thing is. It actually, so I pulled the shaft out of my old XR16, which I swore I wasn't going to do because that was kind of my old faithful. But I took that out, I hit it, and it doesn't quite have the same exact David Copperfield magic in it that it used to. So it's, it's unfortunate. I was like, you know what, let's just pull it apart and go. So pulled it apart and slapped the shaft into this SIM Max 2. Really like what it's doing so far. It's the Ventus Red is a phenomenal fairway shaft if you're somebody who doesn't hit a super high ball. If you hit a pretty mid to flat ball, Ventus Red is definitely kind of like a more mid to slightly mid-high launch shaft. But it's still pretty low spin. It's uber consistent, and it's very accurate. So a lot of times you look into some of those mid-high launch shafts and they feel a little loose. You never feel like you're hitting, you never feel like it's as consistent, or the distance control is not there or whatever. It's just not the same feeling as those mid and low launch shafts. I think Ventus Red is super tight for being mid-high launch and being pretty much mid to maybe slightly mid-low spin. And I think it works great in a fairway wood, but I think it looks good in a driver. I've been hitting it in some drivers too, but in a fairway wood, it feels great. It's got a really stiff handle section, so for my crappy quick tempo, it gives me a lot of control, a lot of consistency. But I've been really hitting this well. The sound on it's great. It's a little more of a higher pitch metallic sound at impact. I know I talked about SIM2 Max before. It is launched a little higher than my XR16. My XR16 did have like, I don't remember what it had now. Probably 6 to 8 grams of hot melt, probably just on the sole, and it seemed to launch a little flatter than this. This kind of gets up a little higher, so it probably doesn't go quite as far. Angle of descent's a little steeper. It'll be great for hitting it into those long par fives, or hitting it into for that, being able to hit a green, have a little distance control, get to stop there. It'll be great for that. If you're hitting it off the tee looking for max distance, this thing isn't going to be at least for me, isn't going to be the craziest, longest thing in the world. But overall, I really like what this thing's doing. I feel like it's really comfortable. It's one of those, 3 woods, when you find a good one, you don't let it go. And that was that XR16 for about 4 years for me. And then this is really feeling like it's one of those things where I step up to the tee and I set a ball down, and I have a lot of confidence that it's going to go in the fairway. When I put a decent swing on it, it's going in the fairway. It feels good. I think I need to slap maybe, I got to put it on the swing weight scale. I have to see. It doesn't feel crazy light, but maybe just a hair. I might just need to throw just a couple grams of hot melt into the head, which would be great because I think mute the sound a little bit. But overall, the head I have sits pretty square. I know some people said they've gone to some shops and the SIM2 Maxes have been a little shut. The one I have, it looks pretty square, so I'm not complaining. But it definitely launches a little higher. It's definitely a mid-high launch. It's, like I said, got a little higher apex, a little steeper angle of descent. But overall, it's a pretty neutral ball flight. Again, I think, if you had to have a bias in it, it might be just a hair of a draw, but not much. And I'm a guy who hooks it, and I really like this thing. I think it's really good. I've really found a lot of consistency with it. I'm getting really comfortable with it, and I really like that about that. So right now, the SIM2 Max has been really good on the course, and I'm going to try. I really want to hit it against the titanium to see, because off the tee, I think the titanium was going to be, a longer club there, but I want to get on the course and see what it's like off the turf as well. So, but SIM2 Max so far, like I said, off the turf has been phenomenal. Off the tee, a little higher window than I'm used to, but I'm still getting good distance out of it. It's probably not as long as my Maverick Sub-Zero combo from last year, but I think this thing is more consistent and more forgiving. That twist-faced and all that. I think those low heel shots definitely get up higher, and they carry farther than my old Maverick Sub-Zero did. So right now, that's kind of in the bag at the moment. Really like the combo. I think it's playing really well. So I'm excited to kind of hit it more, and I'm going to hit some other stuff as well. But right now, that's kind of in the bag right now, and it's been a good thing. So I've liked it so much. So those two are the two fairways I've been hitting, and they've been really good so far. So pretty excited. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about drivers. I got 3 drivers that I've been kind of hitting on the range, taking to the course, and all of that. But before I get into it, I mentioned that it's in my 3-wood right now, but Fujikura Ventus has been everywhere. It is the flagship model for Fujikura. You've seen it all over tour. It's insanely popular right now. You've seen it all over the GolfWRX forums, probably all over any other forum. It's just been a crazy, crazy shaft right now. The Velo Core technology in it just gives it a crazy amount of control. It makes that club head easier to square up and hit the center of the club face, repeatedly every time. I think it's one of those shafts that's going to go down like the 757 as just a legendary shaft that's going to be around for a long time. It's just that good. And, like I said, they make 3 models. So they make black, which is low launch, low spin, blue, which is mid launch, low spin, and then red, which is mid high launch, and let's call it mid spin. And, all three of them you're going to see played in drivers. I even play the red in a couple drivers. I'll talk about it in a little bit. But red, blue, I mean, all of them. I mean, whether it's driver, fairway, wood, absolutely phenomenal shafts. And like I said, something that's going to fit your swing. So there, like I said, 3 different models to fit the swing, the ball flight you're looking for in the club that you have. So check those out. Go to Fujikuragolf.com and check out kind of the Ventus stuff. There's also a Ventus hybrid, which has been really good. I've been playing that as well. I've been playing a blue 9X, and the Ventus HB has been really good as well. I mean, just in terms of a hybrid shaft, I was playing an Atmos Black for a long time and absolutely loved it. And the Ventus Blue is just, I think it's more consistent. It wants to go straight. It doesn't really want to go left. There's you know, like I said, same thing. There's a blue and a black, kind of mid-launch and low-launch. You have kind of options. Great in a hybrid. Really good in a utility iron as well. So if you go to, like I said, go to Fujikuragolf.com. Check out the Ventus, all the different options they have for you. And like I said, I think it's one of those cult shafts that, like the old Speeder 757, we're going to see the Ventus name thrown around for a long, long time. So, like I said, check those out for driver, fairway, hybrid, and you'll be happy you did. So on to drivers. So I've been hitting kind of 3 different drivers at the range. I wouldn't say I've narrowed it down because I'm going to be swapping stuff out and trying stuff all over the place all the time this year. But I've kind of got it down to 3 drivers that I've been hitting on the range and on the course. And the first one we'll talk about is one that I was going to play all around Thursday, and which is basically the G425 Max 9-degree head, which I know I've been raving about the LST head, but I was at the office. LST head it was in use by someone else, so I grabbed the Max head and I was like, you know what, let's just try it and see. And what I did was basically move the weight over to the fade setting. So I moved the heavy tungsten weight all the way to the toe section of the Max. And then it is a 9-degree head that I put in a Fujikura Ventus Black, which I know I just talked about Ventus. But the Ventus Black, so low launch, low spin. And I figured with the Max head, which is definitely a higher launching head, a little higher spinning head, it'd be a great combo. Again, the Black is a little stout for me in most heads, but I figured in this one I could definitely get away with it. And out on the range, the first few shots I hit with it were just like really good. And I've hit it on the range before, and I hit it decent. I wouldn't say I hit it crazy good, but I hit it decent. And then with like I said, this same combo. Actually, I hit the same combo in a 10.5-degree head when I set it basically lower launch, or I turned it down a little bit in terms of loft. This one is 9-degree head. I just left it square with that Ventus Black in there. And it's at like 44 3/4 inches. So it's a little shorter, which the G425 stuff, the heads have been kind of heavy. That's Ping's thing. It kind of helps with the MOI. And it works out really well. So I took that thing out, hit it on the range, and hit 4 balls just right in a row. And there's a big tree at the end of the range at Dearborn Country Club. And I literally just basically landed at the tree, and it hopped on by all 4 balls, just right in a row. And I was like, okay, well, this is, it's hard to argue with that. So this thing I actually put in the bag. The first hole was just a bad swing. I came over the top. Club path was garbage, so I hit a hook and I hit it over into the trees on the left. But the next 2 holes that I played with it hit just absolute baby draw bombs down the middle. Kind of outdrove the 2 guys I was playing with, and both of them are really good players, but outdrove both of them. Sit in the middle, left side of the fairway, and it was just super easy. There was just no thought of it. The second shot, or the second hole at Dearborn, is just kind of it's just a par 4. There's a road on the left, though, so you can't hook it too hard. And I hit just a nice, but if you hit it too far right, you're kind of blocked out of the green. So hit a nice baby draw, was on the left side of the fairway, just perfect. The third hole is a par 5 that it kind of aims out left, and then it just, if you want to call it a dog leg, but it just slightly bends back to the right. It's not much. On the left-hand side, right where you want to land it, is I think 1 or 2 bunkers that are pretty big, and then there's a huge tree on the right. So you either try to thread the needle down there and hit it between everything. And I kind of set up and aimed it basically right down the middle and just said, man, I hope I hit either that slight baby draw, or I hit it dead straight. Nuked it right down the middle. So it ran through the fairway a touch. I was sitting in the rough, and it kind of stunk because it kind of ran up to on the side of the hill of where the bunker was. So my lie was the ball was way below my feet, but I mean, it was a great shot that I struck. It was exactly where I wanted to hit it. It just, like I said, kind of hit, bounced a little left and bounced up on top. But like I said, the thing so far has just been effortless. I think a combination between Ventus Black and Ventus just being super consistent and that max head, it's just really hard to get that thing going offline unless your swing, like I said, that first hole, as I came back over the top, early extension, club path was from out to in and just, hit it dead left. And that was all me. I knew I did it as soon as I got to the top. I knew I was screwed, but, it's fine. But like I said, the next two holes absolutely just nuked it. And it was like effortless. And especially after hitting a bad shot like that, you sometimes either go off and you either hit that shot again or you overcompensate and blow it, fan it way right because you just don't want to hit it left again. And, I walked up and just said, hey, man, let's just make a decent swing. Nuked right down the middle. The next hole, again, same thing. It was kind of in my mind about, like, don't hit it too far left. But, again, you don't want to fan it right, and nuked it right down the middle again. So, those there, really good balls. I think the ball speed was really solid on there, but really a really good combination. I think I'm trying to try to play this Thursday again in that same little skins game down at Dearborn Country Club. And I might play this thing again. I think I think I'll toss it in the bag and play it again out there just because, like I said, after that first garbage swing, the rest of the swings were really good. So the ball flight was really solid. It was like a true mid-ball flight. It was high enough where I like it. I like to hit it high. I've always had an older guy once told me when I was doing the Callaway stuff. His name was Mike, and Mike was like, if somebody hands you a baseball and says throw it as far as you possibly can, he's like, what trajectory do you throw it at? And I'm like, well, you throw it pretty high, you throw it up there. He's like, exactly. And then he's like, another day he was like, well, is there more friction or more resistance in the air or on the ground? Because I'll say something about roll. And I was like, well, there's less resistance in the air. He's like, exactly. So he's like, what you may lack in roll, and sure, on a hot summer day, somebody might get you with rolling at 30 yards by you, rolling at 30 yards and it may roll by your drive. On those wet days when that guy's hitting at 180, or whatever the number, you're still going to, consistently hit it pretty darn far. So I like to hit kind of a high window, and this combo is just slightly lower than I expected it to be. But like I said, the Ventus Black is definitely low launch, low spin. But, the ultra stiff handle in it, the stiff tip, along with a higher spinning and a little higher launching head, has worked out great. So I've hit it really well. Like I said, I think if I play Thursday again, I'm probably going to play that driver. We'll see. Like I said, we'll go to the range a little early, hit a few balls, and we'll see what's there. But right now, that's kind of like, if I had to play right now, I'm probably putting that in the bag. That's kind of the gamer at the moment. The next driver that I kind of hit, and this was kind of a game time decision between this and the 425 Max, was the SIM2 Max, which I've been playing a little bit. I think you guys know I took this out a few weekends ago and played it. But the SIM2 Max with the Mitsubishi Tensei 1K 60TX. And the 1K is a really, really good shaft. I like it a lot better than the AV Raw. I think it's got a smoother, more solid feel to it. I think it's got more of a CK Pro feel to it. And I thought the CK always had a really solid feel that kind of muted a little more vibration than the AV line. But this thing here definitely has some, it's very similar to Ventus Black in terms of launch. When I hit it on my Rapsodo MLM, this launched just a little more than half a degree higher than Ventus Black, but it did have maybe just a touch more ball speed. So depending on what you need, but the 1K is really good. It's got a good feel to it. I really liked it, but this year I basically hit on the range right next to the Ventus Black and G425 Max. And honestly, I think dispersion-wise, they were really, I basically hit them at the same tree. The G425 Max just seemed to go a little farther. So I think this came out maybe just a hair lower in terms of trajectory. But when you looked at, where the ball landed and that one big bounce, because basically when you hit it out there, you get a big bounce and it goes. The 425 Max was just a little bit longer. So that's why I ended up playing that day. But this was pretty much right behind it. It was really good. Like I said, consistency-wise, it was right there. Does launch actually about as high as the G425 Max. It does launch high, which for me is fine. And I put Ventus Black in here as well, and it's really good. So, this head definitely really solid. It could definitely be a starter at some point. But right now, this is very close second. But I really like how this thing plays. I think the SIM2. A lot of people ask me, SIM2 Max, SIM2, is it worth upgrading over a Sim? And or the first gen? And I said, I always tell people, like, one, it depends on the player. For me, I like it better because I want a little more forgiveness out of it, and I think the low heel shots on the SIM2 Max get up in the air and carry straighter and farther than my Sim Max. So I think definitely it's an improvement for me there. For me, it's probably worth it. I mean, I haven't done a full fitting or anything, but I think it's worth it for me just because that shot, that miss, is a lot better with SIM2 Max than Sim Max. So, but really good. Like I said, the ball comes out pretty low. That 1K is really consistent. Like I said, on the range, I was hitting both, and like I said, the G425 Max just was going a little bit farther on that range, and that's what made me play that instead of the SIM2 Max. So, but overall, I really like it. I basically had a hazardous. I ordered this thing with a hazardous green in it, and the hazardous green is just it's just stupid stiff. It just doesn't. It's not. I mean, it's just not for me. So definitely Ventus Black or 1K or Tensei 1K will stay in that head. The green I've kind of, actually I don't remember what head it's in right now. It might be in, I think it's in a tour edge head around here in the basement. But but yeah, like I said, the 1K is really good. Like I said, the feel on it's really really awesome. It doesn't it's not as anti-left, I don't think, as Ventus Black. Ventus Black is, I think, is going to be an overall a little more stout, a little lower launching, and probably overall a little lower spinning. But like I said, 1K is really good in that head. I think it's a good match between the two. So, like I said, it was close. It just happened to be on the range that day. I was hitting G425 Max a little better. So that there. And then the third one I've been kind of hitting and really liking more and more. And again, like, if you guys have listened for a little while, the Callaway and I, in terms of drivers, I haven't really loved a Callaway driver since the original Epic. That was like the last one I hit really well, and then I just haven't found anything I've been super comfortable with. But I do have to say the Callaway Epic Max LS has definitely been really good. I've definitely been hitting a lot better. It's probably, to me, the best driver that Callaway's made in the past, like I said, since the original Epic, for me. And like I said, I haven't found a combo that works really well. Like I said, I was able to kind of get Sub-Zero like around the course a little bit last year for Maverick, but it wasn't great. I never felt super comfortable with it, and this is definitely a more forgiving club. Launch, I would say, is kind of, it's definitely lower than SIM2 Max. It's a little flatter, but the forgiveness is there. You can still hit it off the toe, still hit it off the heel, still wants to go pretty straight. And then this one here, for whatever reason, I had it in, when I set it up with Club Connects here, I've got a Ventus Red 6X in it, which again, I know it's blue, but it's one of the prototype ones. It's a Ventus Red, because what I did was it's a 10.5 head, but with the Club Connects, for whatever reason, when I set it in the neutral setting, the face looked like it was like 2 degrees shut, and it's not that way with the Callaway adapter. So for whatever reason, with Club Connects, it made it look shut. So I basically, turned it down to, 9.5 degrees or just over, and it went back to looking, dead square. And overall, I hit it really well. I just didn't quite have enough shots with it on the range, last week, right next to the other two, to throw it in play. But overall, I've hit this thing on the range a little bit. I've hit it on the MLM. It's been really good. It's been really consistent. I really like the sound of it. I think the Epic Max LS sounds and feels really good, way better than Maverick. Just a more solid feel to it. And I feel like, for having a little bit of a funky shape in terms of being long from, face to back, it overall performs really well, and it launches high, goes a long way, and seems to, doesn't spin a ton. So I really like the combination that this thing offers so far, and pretty excited to keep hitting this thing and try some other shafts in it. So the only thing that's different is, like I said, the having that little bit of having to turn it down a little bit is a little bit of a bummer, but it's nice because it launches high enough where even at that 9.5 or at 9.5 degrees, I still have no problem getting it up in the air. So I've left the weight just kind of neutral in it and been fine. I haven't had to swing it all the way over to fade or anything like that. So overall, been a really impressive driver, and just liked hitting it so far. So this is definitely going to get a little more play as the season goes. I just unfortunately don't have. I didn't have the time. And like I said, with most rounds, I can throw multiple drivers in the bag. It doesn't matter. But when I'm playing, a skins game where people care, I've got to go through and, and only play one driver. So that's what I did. So I kind of limited myself. But so if the weather's good, I'm supposed to play on Sunday morning. So I'll probably have all three of these drivers in the bag on Sunday morning. We'll see. Maybe even a fourth. Who knows? I'll bring a couple out. But I'm going to go play the old Bella Vista, the old home course on Sunday. Like I said, tomorrow, Thursday, I might play down at Dearborn again. We'll see. All depends on what the weather's like. But overall, really happy with what's, with all the offerings out there, too. I mean, there's always people asking what's the best driver. I mean, it all depends on the player. It just really does. And then I have word that I might, in the next couple of weeks, might get my hands on a TSI 3. So when people start asking me for comparisons of TSI 3, I'll be able to finally do it. So hopefully I'll get my hands on that in a little while. I'm going to line on one here that, like I said, maybe in the next week or so, maybe 2 weeks, I'll get my hands on it. So that's all I've got this week. It's been a fun one, and I'm looking forward to kind of, swapping on more shafts, hitting the Hideki ZX5, and yeah, seeing what else I can get my hands on to go play with. So if you have any questions, anything like that, like I said, hit me up on Instagram at Club Junkie Pod, at Club Junkie Pod. I'm on Twitter the same, but typically, get me on Instagram. I'm there more. And if there's anything else you think I should test or try or whatever, let me know. I'll see what I can do about getting my hands on some stuff. I know a lot of people ask about Acra clubs or Acra shafts, and I just, like I said, I'll have to see. I'll just see if I can get my hands on some stuff, because right now they don't send anything in, so I don't really know. But I'll see what I can do. So like I said, let me know if there's something out there that you think. And then also, like I said, if you have an idea of some rain gear that's really good for short, fat guys. Or if you think of any other cheap or inexpensive grips out there that I can buy in bulk and not totally burn my wallet up. So let me know, and hopefully you guys have a great week. I'm excited we're getting so much closer. My league starts up the 22nd, so we're getting close, man. It's almost spring. It's almost full-blown golf time, so I'm looking forward to it. So anyway, hopefully everybody's a good week. We'll talk to you next week. We'll see you.